All right, this is a must-see. This is one must-see video right here. Putin boasts of a new nuclear weapons with animation of Florida missile strike. Here we go.
Strong posturing by Russia Thursday as Vladimir Putin reignites the nuclear arms race with a fiery speech. The Russian president announcing new weapons that he claims could hit almost any point in the world and not be shot down. An announcement he says is in response to the new American nuclear policy.
Several points of the renewed U.S. nuclear strategy, which lowers the threshold of using nuclear weapons, provokes great concern.
Putin is currently up for re-election and often uses anti-Western rhetoric to garner support in Russia, though this was arguably his most aggressive speech in years, even going so far to show an animation of Russia launching a nuclear attack on Florida. But U.S. officials are downplaying the remarks, saying much of the grandstanding was expected, and some of it without merit.
We're not surprised by the statements, and the American people should rest assured that we are fully prepared.
In fact, U.S. officials tell Fox News the nuclear-powered cruise missile Putin described is not yet operational and has actually crashed a few times in testing. The State Department says it will continue to try to work with Russia despite major obstacles.
We don't think that kind of imagery, seeing the portrayal in a cheesy video of that kind of attack being conducted on the United States as being a responsible action.
The American deterrent against Russia largely rests on the concept of mutually assured destruction, a term left over from the Cold War, which is feeling very relevant today. At the Pentagon, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Are we watching a play? Are we watching a play here, ladies and gentlemen? Let me read this to you. Moscow, an underwater drone armed with a nuclear warhead powerful enough to sweep away coastal facilities and aircraft carriers, a hypersonic vehicle impossible to intercept as it flies in a cloud of plasma like a meteorite. President Vladimir Putin said Thursday that Russia has these new strategic weapons and many more, declaring, "No one has listened to us. You listen to us now." Putin unveiled the stunning catalog of doomsday machines in his annual State of the Nation speech, saying that Russia had to build them to counter the potential threat posed by the U.S. missile defense system. To drive home his point, Putin spoke as a video showed multiple nuclear warheads streaking it through space before showering down on what appears to be the outline of the state of Florida. Hello. And in a touch of dark humor, he invited Russians to join a defense ministry contest to name some of the weapons. It wasn't immediately possible to assess whether the weapons could do what Putin said or how ready they are for deployment, but they would represent a major technological breakthrough that could dramatically bolster Russia's military capability, boost its global position, and trigger a new arms race. The White House said Putin confirmed what the U.S. has already known, that Russia has been developing destabilizing weapon systems for over a decade in direct violations of its treaty obligations. Spokeswoman Sarah Huckabee Sanders said President Donald Trump understands the threats and that America is moving forward to modernize our nuclear arsenal and ensure our capabilities are unmatched. Pentagon spokeswoman Diana White also said the DoD wasn't surprised, adding that the U.S. military is prepared to defend the nation. While told Pentagon reporters that U.S. missile defense was never about Russia, Washington has consistently argued that missile defense systems in Europe aren't aimed at Moscow but designed instead to defend against threats from Iran, North Korea, and rogue threats. Putin has shrugged off those arguments and said Thursday that the U.S. plans to develop its missile defense system would eventually devalue the Russian nuclear arsenal if we sit with our arms folded. He said the U.S. has underestimated Russia's ability to mount a response, aiming for a unilateral military advantage that could eventually allow it to dictate its terms in other areas. The U.S. should now revise its Russia policy and engage in a serious dialogue on global security, he said. You will have to assess the new reality and become convinced that what I say today isn't a bluff, he said. It's not a bluff. Trust me. He said the creation of the new weapons has made NATO's U.S.-led missile defense useless, putting an end to what he described as years of Western efforts to sidetrack and weaken Russia. I want to tell you, all of you have fueled the arms race over the last 15 years, sought to win unilateral advantages over Russia, introduced unlawful restrictions and sanctions aimed to contain our country's development. All what you wanted to impede with your policies has now happened, he said. If you fail to contain Russia, and you have failed to contain Russia. Putin's dramatic announcement comes as he seeks another 6-year term on March 18, an election he's expected to win easily. His address was accompanied by videos and computer simulations of the new weapons, shown on giant screens at a conference hall near the Kremlin. The audience of senior officials and lawmakers broke into applause, giving him a standing ovation at one point. No one else in the world has anything like that, Putin said. It may appear someday, but by that time, we will develop something new. State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert said it was unfortunate to watch animation depicting a nuclear attack on the United States that accompanied Putin's speech, calling the video cheesy and adding, "We don't think it's responsible." Putin said the nuclear-powered cruise missile, which was tested last fall, has a practically unlimited range, and his high speed and maneuverability allow it to pierce any missile defense. The high-speed underwater drone also has intercontinental range and is capable of slamming a nuclear warhead into both aircraft carriers and coastal facilities, he said. It's very big, operational depth, and a speed that is many times faster than any other vessel would make it immune to being intercepted by the enemy, he added. Another new weapon, called Avant-Garde, is an intercontinental hypersonic missile that would fly at 20 times the speed of sound and strike its targets like a meteorite. Like a fireball, he said. The weapon is capable of performing sharp maneuvers on its way to targets, making it absolutely invulnerable for any missile defense system, Putin added. Robert Schmucker, a rocket scientist at the Technical University of Munich, voiced skepticism about Putin's statement, saying in an interview that building nuclear-powered cruise missiles in particular would be technically difficult and basically pointless. Why make something complicated when you can make it easy, he said, adding that he also doubts that Russia has succeeded in building hypersonic missiles. Tom Plant, Director of Proliferation and Nuclear Policy at the defense think tank RUSI, also said he was not sure how much the announcement to believe. The thing that sounds mad, the nuclear propulsion thing, is potentially feasible, he said, adding, "I think it's insane." Plant added that while Russia already has a ton of systems that can threaten and overwhelm U.S. missile defenses, Putin's announcement reflects his country's concern that the U.S. missile shield could grow powerful enough to become a game changer. The Russians have a genuine worry from their perspective about where U.S. missile defense might go, Plant said. So it totally makes sense for them to try and find ways to defeat not what is now, but what it may become. Putin said that Russia has also tested a new intercontinental ballistic missile called Sarmat, which can fly over both the North and South Poles to reach any target. He said it can carry more warheads than the world's heaviest ICBM, the Soviet-designed missile known in the West as Satan. To complete the list, he mentioned a similar hypersonic missile that is already operational and has a range of more than 2,000 kilometers, that's 1,250 miles to you and me, and a new laser weapon. Putin emphasized that the new weapons were designed in full compliance to U.S.-Russian arms control agreements, adding that Russian military experts and diplomats would be ready to discuss new weapon systems with their U.S. counterparts. We aren't threatening anyone. We aren't going to attack anyone. We aren't going to take anything from anyone. The growing Russian military power will guarantee global peace. This has been James from the Research Revolution.